for our man of the hour in the evening, Cam Miller.
First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out here tonight on a Tuesday during the Bengals bye week and coming down here to support not only a great charity, but also to reminisce about a stadium that doesn't get its due. And I know it's easy, it's been 20 years since we lost the old girl when she was torn down, but it's very easy as we got the brand new shining Paycor Stadium now to forget what it was like at Riverfront Stadium. How many of you got to go to a game at Riverfront Stadium? A lot of hands out there. The original jungle, right? I am a filmmaker, but I also am a lover of history, and I do a lot of work with the Cincinnati Reds. I was a full-time employee at the Reds Hall of Fame, and then when they said, you know, you have to go for cutbacks, I was able to keep going over there and doing films for the Reds. So they became my #1 client. So during the Hall of Fame inductions and those things, and seeing all those players and the camaraderie they had, it was so unique and so special. And I thought, you know what? The Cincinnati Bengals need something like that. And I hope this is the start of something that maybe we can build towards. Maybe one day we'll get a Hall of Fame. Maybe one day we'll see a statue of Paul Brown over there, and Mr. Anderson, and Anthony Munoz, because there's nothing more important than the history of your community. So you know where you've been. And it's very important to me. And I always am so thrilled and honored to share my films with the public. And this event that Bengal Jim has put together, let's give a round of applause to that team. That's the team right there. Putting this film together, I realized after 3 hours that I had to cut it back because it started to become a PBS Ken Burns documentary. I kept focusing on games. I kept focusing on all of these moments, and I realized I have to tell the story of the stadium. I'll let the guys behind me speak to how it was and the experiences that they had playing. But I wanted to tell the story of the stadium, much like I did for the Riverfront Remembered Reds film that we premiered at the Hall of Fame. I wanted to do something like that for the Bengals because they deserve that same love and attention. Because although they only played 8 games a season there were some terrific moments and memories that they had there. And that stadium was our Roman Coliseum. It was our chance to go in there and be as loud as we could, to support, sometimes not support, but at the end of the day, once you put on that Bengal uniform, you're a Bengal for life. As a testament to all the great players that have come back. Let's give a round of applause to those fine players. I hope that this film, I hope that you learned something from it. Again, it's about the stadium. I had to cut it down into 28 minutes or so, which was very difficult. One day the director's cut will appear online and you'll get to see the whole thing. But this gives you an idea of what it was like at Riverfront Stadium. Thank you once again. I appreciate it.
A lot of people forget that a big part of the reason Riverfront Stadium was built was the Reds were moving. They weren't threatening to move, they were moving. They were headed to San Diego to get the head of baseball team. And to get that second tenant, and bring in the biggest league in North America. Fortunately, things fell together with Paul Brown and his group, John Sawyer, and the Bengals came, and that was the real structure to get Riverfront Stadium built. The foundation for the team was Paul Brown's first draft choice, Bob Johnson. The all respect to the late John Stofman, the original draft pick. So, Bob, if you'd share some of your memories of Riverfront Stadium, running out that first preseason game in 1970, knowing that you were a big part of building it, and good times and great teams you had there.
Thanks. I will say this. If you played at Nippert Stadium, it was very intimate. You guys have been at Nippert Stadium, but we played there. I want to say the capacity was like 25,000, but it was so intimate. I mean, people were right on top of you. You sat on the bench. They were, 15 feet from you. And I mean, it was, I never played pro football, so you walk in and you think, this is great. But But then Riverfront Stadium came along, and I said, man, this is big time. Because I'm from Cleveland, Tennessee, not very far from Atlanta, and Atlanta had just built the same stadium, and then we built it after that. But, you know, there was a lot of criticism over the later years about Riverfront, but when we were there, it was hot stuff. And the thing I most remember as a player is, you know, it was baseball, football, and when it became football, they put these little funny little templates down. Second base was like on the 20-yard line or something, and they had these sort of rough, I don't know, inlays that they put in there. It was like a piece of plywood. I mean, it was not good. And I remember stumbling over, and I remember having to snap a punt off of one of them, and it was not good. Anderson is so young, he probably didn't play him. Did you play Riverfront? You know, we called him rookie since he came, and he's still sort of a rookie because he's much younger than we are. Shall I let him say something? We think you're more than anybody else? That's because he's very old and he's beat up, you know, so be a little kind when he can't put his words together just right. There's a lot of brain damage. But I had nothing to do with it. It wasn't my man that hit him. You know, had I known what he was like, I might not have pass protected so well, but he still has some problems. You know, Mr. Anderson, he's busy. Mr. Anderson, would you like to try?
Wow, thanks, Bob. No, I guess when I think of my memories of the stadium, unlike Bob, who played at Tennessee in the Neyland Stadium, and my friend Maxie here, who played at UCLA, played in the Rose Bowl, all those big stadiums. I came from Augustana. You know, it was a glorified high school stadium. I thought Riverfront Stadium was the biggest thing I'd ever seen. You know, but I guess, you know, my memories of the stadium are from certain games. You know, and, you know, if I said, what game was the coldest I ever was, you would all say the Freezer Bowl in 1981. Wrong. The coldest I ever was 1972. We're playing the Colts in Cincinnati. It's 32 degrees and it's pouring rain. And you are soaked to the gills, and I couldn't stop shaking in that game. So that's the coldest game I ever played in. And then I think back, the first Monday night game in Cincinnati, 1975, playing O.J. Simpson and the Buffalo Bills. You know, the city was electrified that night. It showed up so well. You know, Dandy, Don, Gifford, Howard Cosell, and the boys all in town. And it was magical, and it was the most yards I ever threw for. O.J. ran for 200, and we win the game. And then
He was 21 for 23. I mean, he was 21 completions out of 23 attempts.
I owe it all to my offensive line. You know, I remember some of the Steelers games. You know, one that I remember, 1979 was the worst Bengals team I was ever on. We were awful. We were 0-7. The Steelers came in at 7-0 on the way to another Super Bowl. We beat them, I think it was 34-10. They didn't cross it.
I wasn't there.
You want to finish the story, Bob? And Chuck Knowles said after the game, if I didn't know you guys better, I thought you were throwing the game. And then, of course, in that magical season in 1981, you know, the stripes came out on the helmets. But that was the first year, all of a sudden, the lower level of Riverfront Stadium is ringed in banners. And the wind would blow and they'd flap them, and it's just the crowd that we had that year and how Cincinnati rallied behind that team, it was a magical, magical year. And then I guess I kind of remember, you know, kind of at the end, you know, in 1986, you know, I was backing up Boomer. And, you know, I think we were playing the Dallas Cowboys that year. We were getting our ass kicked. And Sam wanted me to go into the game. And I said, why? And we were kind of still in the playoff hunt. He said, go in and finish this game off. And I go, well, okay. So I'm running out into the field, and the Dallas defensive line says, Kenny, throw more passes. We need sacks. I says, this is not a good idea. So I look over, and the third string quarterback signals in a pass. I think off tackle right is a much better call. So we go off tackle right, 2nd and 9. 2nd down and 9, signal in the pass. How about toss sweep to the left? Much better call. Now it's 3rd and 6. They signal in the pass, but we're set up for the draw, right? So we go 3 and out, and we punt. And Sam said, hey, we're signaling passes. Why aren't you throwing the ball? I said, the third string quarterback doesn't have no idea what he's doing because Boomer's pissed off. He's over on the bench. I threw one pass in the game, and it was a short yardage place. I was not going to get hit ever again. But, you know, I think, you know, that place has just got such special memories. You know, it was when, I don't know, Cincinnati football came alive. We became relevant. You know, I always say that in the mid-'70s, you know, in 73, 75, we went to the playoffs. We were as good as any team in the National Football League. It just happened to be that the Steelers were on our division and probably kept us out of more playoff games. But, you know, I think it's a testament. You look at Bob came from Cleveland, Tennessee. You know, Maxie comes from California. A lot of the guys here come from out of town. Where do they live? Cincinnati, Ohio. You know, the stadium was great, but the fans made the stadium. Oh, so now I'm going to turn it over to Max Montoya,
the youngest guy up here. Well, I should have let that guy come through more often. Not tell you, but. Well, yeah, the memories of Riverfront. Of course, 1979 was my first year, and you're right, it was horrendous. I think we were 4-12. 4-12. It was pretty bad. The fans were upset, as they should be. But then things started gelling, and like you said, the '81 season, that sticks out vividly in my mind, especially playing in the Freezer Bowl, clinching the AFC title, go to the Super Bowl, and then the second one in '87, '88, clinching that again in Riverfront Stadium. And the things I just remember most is the fans. And I'll tell you what, I played at other places, but the fans are phenomenal. You guys ought to be proud, as we are of you guys. But those things really stick out in my mind. And then of course the Riverfront Stadium turf was probably a little bit better than maybe Houston, maybe a little bit, but it was pretty ragged. That sharing the stadium with the Reds was a little tough. All the seams that you got to run over and trip over. But really, what sticks out in my mind is the great fans we have here in Cincinnati, and it's a pleasure to live here. Matter of fact, there's so many guys that do come from Los Angeles, Tennessee. There's guys from Washington, state of Washington, and they all come back to Cincinnati, and it's really because of you guys. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Hi guys, hey. So we have three absolute Cincinnati Bengal legends up here. Give them a big round of applause. Thank you guys so much.
But my best memory of Riverfront Stadium was the AstroTurf. It was horrible. We were so, every time I went out and played in the Riverfront with that AstroTurf, we were so scared. Two things. It was very, very slippery. And when you play cornerback, defensive back, it's really hard to get your footing on slick turf. But during the summertime, before you got cool around here, I mean, if you landed on that turf on an elbow, man, you had a 3rd-degree burn. I mean, a 3rd-degree burn. It was that bad. As I played, I remember several years ago, there was a guy named Wendell Davis that played for the Philadelphia Eagles. And he was playing a game, and he somehow planted, and the turf came up, and he tore both of his knees up. Soloman and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago. And every time I was at Riverfront, I always thought about that because the turf, as you know, they would put the middle of the field with baseball, pitcher count and all that. So we were always concerned about it, but my best memory was I liked that the turf was very slippery sometimes. We were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they had an offensive guard named Terry Long. Everyone remembers Terry Long. And Terry Long was an offensive guard, but he was only about 5'10", 5'9", about my height. And I remember one time, Pittsburgh would always pull their guards. And I'm on the back end, I got the tight end blocks down, I got to come up. And when I come up, who do I see coming? Terry Long. Terry Long about 280, 5'11", big arms like this. He running like this. And I know I can't move out of the way. And Dick Lewis said, you got to take him off. And I hit him, and I just know he hit me from here to that wall. And I hit the turf like this, and I'm sliding. That's when I loved the turf at Riverfront Stadium.
Well, I got a slightly better version, you know. So I think my best story in regards to playing at Riverfront was when we played Barry Sanders in the Detroit Lions. You know, personally, I had a pretty good game, but Barry had, Barry 150, 175, 200 yards on everybody. Coach Bo devised a really good scheme for him, and I think that was the only time in 11 yards that when I played against Barry, he didn't have 200 yards. So I think we held him to about 30 yards, 40 yards. Kind of picked a fumble up from the 50 and ran in. I thought I had some real good speed and wound up getting caught by Rodney P. I don't know how that happened, but that was my best memory of Riverfront.
Well, I must say I had a slew of memories of Riverfront, and like Aaron was talking about, the turf was bad. As you all know, I've done my first Ickey Shuffle on the Riverfront Stadium. So I do remember that, but I also had my knee got did on Riverfront Stadium too. So, like E.T. said, the turf probably had some of the baddest turf in the league. And when it got cold out there and you had to hit that ground, it was like falling on concrete. Because it wasn't nothing but a rug over concrete out there anyway. But we had a lot of fun out there, and my fondest memory was playing the Washington Redskins. My man missed the field goal. Chip Lowmiller missed the field goal. We ended up winning the AFC Championship and making it to the Super Bowl. So that was a real fond memory. But another memory of Riverfront, now I was doing my shuffle, and as soon as I scored a touchdown, I used to come running to the sideline, and I'd break out into the shuffle, and the crowd would go crazy. I mean, crazy. And then next thing I know, Jim Breeden come over to me and hit me like this. Hey, Ed, can you do me a favor? Wait till after I kick the extra point before you do that shuffle. I say, you got it, Breacher, you got it.
I think we all got similar stories of Riverfront, but I can remember one where we played the Houston Oilers in Cincinnati, and we were dragging them up and down the field, beating them as bad as we can beat them, and we're actually sitting on the sideline ready to celebrate the win when our old ball coach, Sam Weiss, told Breech, he called a timeout and said, we want to onside kick them. And the first thing I said to myself was, man, we're up 54-7. 61-7, we're going to onside kick? But it was the memory of having that kind of coach, that kind of players that we didn't take no, that what I want to say, we didn't take no mess when it came to playing the Riverfront. And another one about Riverfront was when you had the doors open, the door on the river, we bring the Houston Oilers in there, and I remember their wide receivers stayed inside because they didn't want to come out in that cold wind coming through off that river. So Riverfront Stadium was exactly what the name was, Riverfront Stadium. Everything about that turf was hard. Everything about playing in that stadium was hard. And most of the fans that we had back then were right on top of us. And when you didn't do your job, they let you know. So that was some of my memories at Riverfront.
Now, as David said, a lot of our memories are very similar. I remember at halftime of that game against the Houston Oilers, I think we were up 35-0. And Sam came in and said, "Quiet down." He's just yelling at us. We're having fun. "Quiet down. If I see one more guy letting up, I want to score 30 more points on him in the second half." I'm like, this man's crazy. And then I looked at E.T. I said, I think something personal happened between him and Jerry Glanville. You guys had to be thinking the same thing, am I right? Because it was personal. You know they were teammates with the Washington Redskins, right? Somebody dated somebody's girlfriend, I don't know. But that's the story. To me, my greatest memories at Riverfront Stadium was the confidence that we had when we were playing in front of you guys. There was no doubt that when we brought them in there, and as David said, we locked that door behind them, as Dick LeBeau would say, their ass was grass. Louis Breeden, am I right? That was Dick LeBeau. But that was it. When they came in there and the energy that you guys gave us, the confidence you guys gave us, we knew we were not going to lose. I remember the morning of the AFC Championship game in '88. We came in, why would anybody have breakfast at the Spaghetti Factory, by the way? That's a whole nother story. We're going to talk about that later. We're having our breakfast, pre-game meal, at the Spaghetti Factory. Sam calls us all up. He said, "Hey guys, we just got a call from the NFL. They're not gonna allow us to run the no huddle." And we're like, what? Defensive guys are like, we're good. Offensive guys over there panicking. They're nervous. They're looking around. And then he gives us the story of how Marv Levy had called the league office, called the commissioner, and complained, said it was illegal. I don't know if there's any Ivy League guys in the crowd, but that's how Ivy League guys are, because Marv League is Ivy League. When they know they can't beat you straight up, they want to litigate, right? They want to go get the paperwork, right? They're like, "Oh, we can't beat them. Let's see if we can change the rules." And that's when we knew, we can get ready to kick their ass. And man, Sam came in and said, "Guys, we got the call. We're going to use the no huddle." I was like, "Coach, it was over in." It was over. And so now we get them in there, and man, look, when I saw Anthony Munoz slam Bruce Smith to the ground, and the ground was frozen. He didn't limp off. They carted him off. Every time I see Anthony, I say, "Man, you're the only time I saw an offensive lineman with one move win the entire game." Because Bruce Smith was coming like a bat out of hell, man. He was giving Boomer the business. And then next thing you know, Anthony ended it all. Just slammed him into the ground. Hand in his bag, textbook, Hall of Fame stuff. Bam! So, those are my favorite memories. It really is about the fans. It's really about the energy that you guys gave us. I'll tell one more story, because this is a different look at Riverfront Stadium. It's not down in the pit on the field. I was working for Channel 5. I have to go up to Mike's office to do a season-ending interview. It's the only time I had been to his office. Go up in there, Mike, still at Riverfront Stadium. Go in there, like, what is the shag carpet? 1965. It was the original shag carpet when they built the stadium. Like, Mike, you could do better.
memory. I know a lot of plays, but this dude coming out of the tunnel during the Super Bowl dropping F-bombs. And it was, you could hear it on TV. Joe Kelly. and then you got this man right here, Ickey Woods. This is one of the best human beings you ever want to meet. These are guys I grew up with, man, and I love watching Ickey, but man, the best secondary the Bengals have ever had. There's one guy that's not here tonight, Lewis Millis, from God rest his soul. But we got the other three members, surviving members of the SWAT team. So give it up for this group here, guys. We appreciate you.
Reese will tell you that I remember nothing, very little at all. So, and I was just telling this story, and I was just asking one of my former teammates if he remembered. Obviously, he doesn't remember. And I tell you what happened. One day at practice, we didn't hit a lot at practice, but one day we were practicing, and the pulling guard came around the corner. His name Max Montoya. He was just up here a few minutes ago. And I hit Max with one of the biggest forearms he's ever felt in his life, and I knocked him out. So the reason he doesn't remember that story is because he doesn't knocked out. And the other reason he doesn't remember that story is because I'm lying. So I always avoided Max whenever I could because he was one of the best offensive linemen ever to play the game here, as far as I'm concerned. One of my former teammates, Eddie Evans, I talk with him often. He always talks about Max. He gives him kudos. He gives him credit. He said Max Montoya was a load. He was hard to handle. A load, man. I guess the story that I was a guy, I don't know how many universities and colleges there are in the country, but not one recruited me to play football. I was a walk-on in football. I went there to play baseball. So I love sports. I played basketball also in high school. So I think my personality was a little bit different. I was quiet. I used to daydream a lot, not pay a lot of attention to what was going on. So when Sam Weiss came, we did this drill called, what was it, gassers. And Robert was there, and Jim Breech never had to do anything but kick, which he was very good at. So we had to do gassers after practice, and most of the guys would practice those things. Robert Jackson, incredible athlete, just run all day long. He would practice them during the off season. Eric Thomas was another one of those guys, run all day long, hell of an athlete. Soloman Wilcots the same way. So we run these gassers. Now gassers is you go across the field, I think it's 3 times run, down, back, over, back. Is it 2 or 3? 2, over, back, over, back. How the hell do you know? You didn't run. He was watching us with our tongues hanging out. So we would do those things every day after practice. And I didn't practice them during the off season. I didn't like to work out. So I ran, but not like I should anyway. So Dick LeBeau was always watching, he was honest, and he was on the guy who was going to be last. Now, my only goal was not to be last. Not that I couldn't run, it's just I didn't want to run that hard. I didn't want to have to beat Robert Jackson because Robert ran like an idiot, and Eric Thomas the same way. So who could I beat? I had to find someone on the team who probably a little big, probably didn't run as well, probably didn't work out any more than I did. And thank God they sent us David Fulcher. So I would spend all of my time, seriously, I know I could get in front of David. Robert's in front of me, Eric Thomas is in front of me, and all I had to do is stay ahead of David Fulcher. And he was always back there, I didn't give a damn about anybody else, and he knows it because we talk about it. I didn't give anything about anybody else but David Fulcher. So, and I think the payment I got for that, one game we were playing and David paid me back. I forget who we were playing. But there was a pass across the middle of the field. I think it was a man-to-man coverage. And not that I was going to catch it anyway, and Jim Breech will tell you, so I was coming right in front of the guy to make the pick, the interception. And all of a sudden, I didn't catch the ball, and I don't remember anything except for waking up on the sideline because David Fulcher had hit me. And that was probably the best tackle. This is day of Fulcher night. That was probably one of the best tackles, one of the best hits he ever made, but it was on his own teammate, so.
So Lewis probably got his hands on more passes than Ken Riley. The difference was Ken Riley caught those passes. So Lewis would come down. So when you're 5'6", if the offense is down there, you go to the opposite end. Well, Lewis would come down there and hang out with me. And then as it matriculated down the field, we'd move around to the other side. So we hung out a lot together. And I'm like, Lou, you would lead the world if you just caught half the balls he got his hands on. It would be, passive defense, they have that now. He'd have blown everybody away because he was always getting his hands on the ball. He's still number 3, right? Number 2. You're still number 2. So, but you combine 2 and 3 with the Bengals, they're still short of Ken Riley. So, what do I remember? I didn't go play golf. I made the kick in the Washington game. That Chip Lohmiller missed the kick. So I was drafted by the Detroit Lions. The second preseason game. Let me back up. I was in college at Cal. I had a son. We go to a sporting goods store. He wants a football helmet. We go in there, and guess what they have? One helmet left. Cincinnati Bengals. So we bought a Cincinnati. So I had a Cincinnati Bengals helmet when I was like 21 years old. Drafted by Detroit. The second game, they said you can kick the second game. We're playing in Cincinnati. We land in northern Kentucky. What city? What city has their airport in another state? I'm like, what is this place? Then we come down and we walk out on this field that is like this cement. Matter of fact, this cement's probably softer than the field was at that time. I'm like, this place is weird. And then you go on the field, and I can't remember who was talking about the inserts. Bob Johnson. Those inserts. I mean, I don't know how many guys tripped on those inserts. The baseball inserts. They stuck up about 2 inches. You're trying to run, you're trying to kick. Well, the extra points away from the river end went downhill. You're kicking downhill. Like what? Come on. So anyway, here I am. My first preseason game. I end up playing against the Bengals, and who knew? 2 years later, I get a call. So I'll tell you quickly how I became a Bengal. I get released by the Oakland Raiders. Chris Barr gets released here. They loved him in Oakland. I said, I know I'm out of the job. I'm out. So I'm at home. Frank Smouse, one of our esteemed scouts, gives me a call. He goes, Jim, 4 weeks to go in the season, we need a new kicker. Will you come in and try out? Let's see, I don't have a job. Yes, I will be glad to come and try out. The week before, the Cleveland Browns called me. I thought I was going to be a Brown, and so I ended up flying to Cincinnati. I left the Bay Area at 72 degrees, blue sky, no wind, very little wind. Landed in Cincinnati at 10 o'clock. They said, catch the shuttle. They said, catch the limo. I'm walking out looking for the limo, right? Where's the stretch limo? This is the NFL. They come pick you up. This is all first class. Well, there's the limo. It's the shuttle bus. It says limo on it. I jump in there. It said, come to Spinney Field, ready to kick by 10 o'clock. Okay? It's 5 minutes away. Stofers, you drive down the road, you go down the hill, boom, boom, you're there. I mean, it's 5 minutes. So at 9 o'clock, I go outside and catch a cab. I go out to this cabbie, I get in, I said, Spinney Field. And he just starts driving. Spinney Field. Yeah, that's what they said. Never heard of it. No idea where it is. Then he gets on he starts making calls. Anybody know where Spinney Field is? At 9:45, I could have walked there in 10 minutes. At 9:45, I show up. And I get out and I tell the cabbie, I said, look, why don't you just wait? Because I may just be getting back in and leaving. So I walk in, I open the door, and here comes Mike Brown walking down the hallway. Mike, he introduces himself. Well, Mr. Brown, very nice to meet you, and I'll see you some other time. He says, no, it's hard to find, I get that. It's a miserable so Cincinnati. 25 degrees, 20-mile-an-hour wind, overcast, looks like it might snow. 72, sunny out through the Bay Area. Just standing outside for a few minutes, I've never been so cold in my life. So the other guy, Rich Sorrow, who had kicked in New Orleans, he goes out and works out. I go in to get stretched out and everything, so we just switch. We go back out. Blair Bush, who played at the University of Washington. Joe Kelly, huh? Mike Levenseller held for me. Blair snapped. Washington State. I'm from Cal World in the Pac-8, when it was still the Pac-8. They're like, dude, Pac-8's winning today. He starts telling me everything the other guy had done. If you do this and this and then you're going to win. And I ended up winning the job. So Lee Steinberg was my agent. And agents were pretty new. Lee says, if they want to sign you, you need to call me. Just clarify everything. And I sit down with Mr. Brown, and he says, look, we'll just prorate whatever the Raiders were going to pay you for this season. To me, that seemed pretty fair. I got 4 weeks to go. That's good. But Lee Steinberg is my representative, and he'd like for me to call. Mike says, well, Jim, the other kicker just left, and he's not to the airport yet, and we can easily get him back here. Where do I sign? And that's how he became a Cincinnati Bengal. Again?
Who's the only holder you have you never missed a kick with?
I can't remember.
Take a wild guess, Kenny Anderson. All right, I'm from Michigan. I went to Central Michigan, down there playing football. You know, Lewis was telling the truth. He was lazy. So we're playing Pittsburgh. Lewis, you still hold the record, right, for the longest TD?
Yeah, preemptive strike here. He's lying.
So we're out there, you know, it's us against Pittsburgh. We're battling. Lewis intercepts the ball. We're all blocking our asses off, you know, getting blocked. We get down to about the 10-yard line. Lewis tries to hurdle over a guy. Next thing we see the ball go out the end zone. We look over at Lewis like, what the? Dude, you know. So Pittsburgh gets the ball on the 20. We got 3 DBs, we're looking. Guess where Lewis is at? Standing on the sideline talking to Dick LeBeau. He was tired. But yeah. Jim, don't hurt his feelings. But yeah, Lewis, you know, we teased him because it was a quarterback that ran him down. Lewis won't say it, but you know, as far as athletic ability, Lewis was great. You know, Jim Breech, all the guys out here, even Max. But you know, the things when I got off the bus, come from Central Michigan, they took us to Spinney Field. I looked at the AstroTurf. It was worn down in the middle. And then we walked into a building no bigger than this. Yeah, this is way bigger than Spinney Field. You walk down the aisle, turn right, turn left, and you're there. That was it. That's what I came from. You know, I'm like, ooh, the NFL, welcome to it. What was that?
We're not talking to you.
Oh, now we're not talking to me. But the story is true about Lewis. That's all I have.
You want to rebuttal? You want to say something, Lewis?
No. I got one more person because I say I don't remember a lot. I really don't remember a lot. But some things you just remember. They leave an indelible mark. You just never forget it. I went to North Carolina Central. Never had any money. Never had any money in college or anything. So I get drafted by the Bengals. And just like Jim Breech, they tell me that they're going to have someone waiting for me. So I'm at the airport. I think I may have been on the second time in my life I've been on a plane, away from home for the first time. So I get to the airport,
and I'm looking for someone to pick me up. There's no one. I'm looking for a Bengal sign that said Louis Breeden, Louis Breeden, Louis Breeden. I didn't see anything. So I have to get a ride from the airport to the hotel. So I catch a ride from the airport to the hotel. I may have had $2 on me. I'm in college. Don't have any money. So I tell the guy, hey, look, Louis Breeden just got drafted by the Bengals and blah, blah, blah. You'll call them and they will pay you, okay? So the first day of practice, we get through with the first day of practice, and Tiger Johnson was our coach, and he approached me in the hall, and I think we may have just received our per diem check. It was the biggest check I've ever had in my entire life. I don't know what it was. It wasn't a lot, but for me, it was a hell of a lot of money. And he says, Louis, he said, yeah, we know you got from the airport, and we had to pay the cab to bring you in. He said, I want you to know, we took that amount out of the check.
Riverfront Stadium, Riverfront Remember the Jungle. I get to tell you the story kind of in a nice, abridged paperback version. But the idea is for you to watch this, maybe get some memories that rekindle within you, and then you go on social media, and then you go talk to your friends or family and say, I remember that, I was there for that game, because that's what it's about, passing down the history, the generations of all of these great Bengal players and what it was like.
Here's the Bengal prowling, mean and angry, here he comes the prowling, mean and hungry, an offensive brute, but pass or boots, and defensively he's rough, tough, Cincinnati Bengals, that's the team we're gonna cheer to victory. Touchdown Bengals, get some points upon that board and win a game for Cincinnati.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man, it was better than I thought. It was amazing job, man. We appreciate you, man. Say a few words if you could.
First of all, thank you very much for coming out and watching that. I hope you learned something. Thank you. My father had season tickets in 1970 and got to go to that stadium. He had to give them up when he raised a family and had kids. So to see it and then put this film together, it meant something personal to me. Not just going there as a child, but also knowing what it meant. It got passed down, and that's why it's so important that when you guys get home tonight and you go on YouTube and you share that film, and then other people can share it, and other people, and it gets passed down, because it is so vitally important that we never forget that girl along the river, because she brought us great memories. So thank you once again from the bottom of my heart, and I hope that you enjoyed the film and the players that came out tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.